Now, what are we going to be going over today? As I mentioned, the value, pricing, how customers can leverage, and some important notes regarding 3 of our 6 or more new features that came out with the summer release. Today, we're going to be going over contacts, message template builder, and the chat integrations. We'll also go ahead and preview for the next part of the series, and then I'll open it up for some Q&A. Now, who is the intended audience for this training? Anyone that is customer facing, anyone who just likes to learn, and those of you with some free time on this lovely Friday afternoon. So if you're ready to rock, let's roll. All right, so by the end of this training, you should be able to propose the value of new features and functions to customers, identify their costs, and how they can be leveraged by customers and our staff. So for customers, in terms of contacts, remember that contacts are an alternative to Active Directory or LDAP alerting in that they allow for targeting individual users instead of devices. Currently, contacts are only used to target Alertis desktop clients, but their scope will be expanded in the future to include other alerting methods. The new features in contacts in essentially the additional standard fields, custom fields, and contact assignment rules makes assigning contacts to different groups a lot easier. And as the functionality of contacts develops, customers will be able to get more specific with recipient targeting, which will in turn increase their emergency preparedness. And a great thing about it is that it's included in their ENS. Now, let's talk about ways in which customers can take advantage of contacts functionality and use it to their advantage. Since we are now able to use contact assignment rules, which works almost exactly as device assignment rules, except for, of course, now we are assigning people to groups, strategic use of the additional standard fields and furthermore custom fields will help streamline the assignment process. Some great custom fields include, email, mobile number, employee ID or student ID. You can get granular with locations. So what I mean by that is that location is already an existing standard field. But the great thing about that is that if you want to, if the customer is a huge facility, has large campuses or many clinics across the state or the country or whatever the case is, instead of using one singular location to help assign contacts to different groups, they can use additional location types. So for example, for custom fields, we can have building or campus, room, wing, level, floor, etc., anything. So it helps them to even furthermore target the locations of their recipients in terms of assigning them to specific groups, okay? You can also have a custom field for role. So job title is already actually a standard field, but unfortunately, it may not translate across all industries or organizations, for example, schools. Instead, you can have a custom field for role where you can decipher, whether it's a student, a faculty, a security personnel, etc. And so for using contact assignment rules, we have here an example. So here we're doing a contact assignment rule that is assigning by role and building, assigning to a group for students, right? So here would be a great place to put a custom field for role, where the role equals student, location could be any, for this one it's North Campus, and building. And so here we have the formula that if a contact is a student in the North Campus in building 2, they will be assigned to this group. And so this is a great way, using standard fields and custom fields in a strategic way to help streamline contact assignments. Now, some things to note when using contacts is that these will be great to actually keep in mind while explaining how the features work to customers, as well as assist you in some troubleshooting. So when importing contacts, It is important to keep in mind that the first 3 columns must be contact ID, first name, and last name. Otherwise, the import will not work. Now, additional columns for any standard fields, custom fields, or contact methods, they can be in any order, okay? Unlike the first 3 fields that have to be contact, first name, last name in that exact order. The additional fields can be in any order. However, the name of the field has to match exactly what was configured in the system. Otherwise, again, the import will not work. If the customer is using importing via REST API, that's done through our Swagger page. And the recommended method to use is the complete upload method, which uses CSV or JSON. Don't forget that after importing, all existing contacts will be deleted first, and then the new contacts with the new fields, etc., will then be added. So it's important that customers know this, that if they have any existing contacts that they need to keep or keep track of, it is best practice to first export their existing contacts, and then once they import it, once they do the new import, everything will then be replaced appropriately. When adding or updating contact methods, remember that contact methods are used when targeting a recipient. And for contacts, how we target them is via Alertist Desktop. So username is the common method used for that. If you have been playing around in there, you probably noticed that we also have computer name existing in the dropdown as a contact method. However, this isn't fully implemented for targeting yet, but this functionality will hopefully be added in the future, in the near future. When creating contact assignment rules, it's great to remember that we have a new preview feature that can be used. So what it will do is, as a customer is creating a new contact assignment rule, it will show a sample of contacts and the corresponding group they'll be assigned to. This helps them identify any errors in the assignment rules and formula before accepting the assignment. And it's also great to let customers know that every time a contact assignment rule is added or edited for any reason, or when a contact is added or updated, the contact assignment rules will execute every time. And a couple more things before we move on to the next feature is when creating custom fields for contacts, the name value must be unique in that it cannot match an existing standard field. Otherwise, you will get an error like this appear that tells you it's matching a standard field, and then it will not work. Okay, it will not save for you. So it is best that the custom field have unique names and unique uses as well. Now, since each organization has specific requirements based on their individual use cases, it is important that you keep these in mind when creating the new fields. Our solution is totally customizable, but we don't need to go crazy with the custom fields. Remind customers to use only what is pertinent to their specific cases. And just as imports will update all existing contact info, so too will renaming or deleting a custom field. Okay, the system will update and remove these for all existing contacts. So again, if any changes need to be made to contacts and customers need to keep track of existing contacts, it is important that they follow the best practice, which is exporting the contacts first and then going ahead and making the updates and changes as necessary. And finally, when entering standard fields, so basically when inputting the data for standard fields, it's important to keep in mind that during import, users will need to provide a 2-letter ISO country code or language code if they are using the standard fields for country and language. When entering a contact individually, so if they're doing one by one, they'll be able to select from a drop-down list the country and or language from the drop-down menu. But if they're importing contacts via CSV, then the import won't work if the country code or language code isn't there. So it can't just be USA, it has to be the ISO 3166 country code for USA, has to be in the import sheet in order for it to actually transfer over. All right, so as our expert in professional services, Gil, says, emergency message development is an art, and it requires an understanding of the necessary elements that comprise an effective emergency message. Why? Because the content and style of the message has a direct impact on the recipient's response to a warning and their willingness to comply with recommended protective action. And for that reason, we created the Alertus Message Template Builder. It's a tool that organizations can use to create custom messages based on specific hazards or threat types. The Message Template Builder will guide them through the message development process, where they'll be prompted to provide custom details. And as they add information in the text fields, the message will be modified in real time so that customers can make determinations of how impactful the messages may be. The Message Template Builder removes the tediousness of having to create different alert messages one at a time, as it does consist of pre-scripted information based on industry best practices. So industry best practices is a great selling point, okay? These are the essential elements required to deliver clear, concise, and actionable emergency messages. So in sum, the Message Template Builder gives organizations control over the design of their message. And a plus is that it's included in their ENS. So our future evaluation of the Message Template Builder is that it will replace the stock messages that we already provide to customers. And so what Message Template Builder will do is eventually become the initial step for alert message creation. With that in mind, how can we leverage Message Template Builder, right? Well, first and foremost, it will help guide scenario planning with the focus on the alert message, right? As we have experienced, there are some customers that sometimes have no idea where to even begin with the emergency planning process, especially with respect to their use of Alertus, right? So this feature will actually be incredibly helpful, not just for customers, but for our implementation team to help them identify their probable hazards and threats, and then develop messages for those specific hazards. It helps to start conversations regarding emergency planning and alleviates implementation's workload. Message Template Builder will also help customers lay a foundation for their emergency messages and allows for flexibility for future customization because they can always edit them after the fact. The Message Template Builder helps to streamline message creation in that they're able to customize and generate several messages for different hazards all at the same time. And of course, a great selling point is that the elements found within the Message Template Builder are the industry's gold standard for emergency, for alert messages. So remember that, I keep saying that. That's a great action word or a great phrase to say. All right, so this is what Message Template Builder looks like. And if you notice here on the left-hand side, these are the elements that are the industry best practice for, or the industry standard for elements for alert messages, right? And then here on the right, we see the templates. And so as users start entering information here, it will populate here on the right so they can see them in real time. And then they can make the selection here and click what messages they want to generate, okay? Now, what are the gold standard elements? Here we have the message name prefix. Now, this one is not necessarily an industry gold standard. It's something that our developers put together, and it will help with the organization of the alert messages so that when users go in, they can easily identify the message that they need by the name of the message, right? And so the prefix will appear right before the message. The organization section here, that is the name of the organization, and that helps recipients know where the message is coming from. You know, we all have so much access to different alert types. For example, I get Amber alerts on my phone all the time, or maybe some folks sign up for weather alerts. And so what this will do is help differentiate those alerts from the ones coming specifically from their organization. Now, message text, we have long message or short message. The caveat with this is that short message doesn't necessarily meet the industry standard, the industry gold standard, right? Long message does, because what short message does is it kind of does away with all the extra fluff, or not the fluff, but extra details of the alert. Whereas long message includes geographic areas that are at risk, what the hazard is, all the information, the date and time, the danger it poses, all of that. Short message just kind of gives you just the very pertinent information. There's an active shooter, run for cover, or maybe just that, there's an active shooter, and then that's it. So long message is actually what the gold standard will meet. Location name, of course, will let you know where the alert, where the incident is happening. You can also include a protective action. This is a gold standard because it provides guidance on what the recipients should do in order to protect themselves and ensure their safety. In additional text, you can include additional protective actions or just more information regarding what the next steps are for the recipient. You know, await further instructions, or you know, contact your local, etc. And then finally here, information source. This is great because it allows for organizations to either put in a website, a phone number, or here in other, they can do a social media link. And so this will guide recipients to other resources where they can stay up to date with the incident. And so let's go ahead and take a look at just what the existing templates are in the console. Give me one moment here while I log in. And there we go. All right. So message template builder is going to be found, of course, in message templates under config system. And right here, message template builder. And so this is what it looks like. Here is where we enter all of our information. This is the prefix. So let's say it's for the North Campus. We can do like NC. And notice here that the name is changed and the prefix is there. So if, for example, you a customer wants different messages and wants to identify them by location or campus or clinic, they can give it a prefix so that when the user is in there and wants to either generate a custom message, custom activation, or create a preset alert, they can identify the message by the name here, by the prefix. Here we have I think it's 34 different hazards and threats. And so these are what is going to spark conversation and get the customers thinking about what they need to be paying attention to. I'm going to unclick all of these. So once they're highlighted, you can see here we have general alerts, and these are general hazards, and these can be customized even further by the customer as they're entering information here. And then once the template is saved, they can even customize the message further through the regular message template page. Here we have human-caused disasters, for example, active shooters, bomb threats, cybersecurities, an intruder alert. We also have natural disasters here. These are obvious. And then any tech disasters, for example, a failure of any technical equipment. Like here we have dam failure. There are hazardous materials present, a nuclear power plant or a power outage, things like that. So these really help spark the conversation and get customers thinking as to what type of alerts and messages they want to get out to their recipients. Okay, jumping back in here. Now, some things to keep in mind while showcasing the message template builder is that there will be placeholders for text prompts while generating the messages. So what do I mean by that? Here, these are the text prompts right here, like location, okay? So these actually, the text prompts will work for preset alerts. So if the message template is used as a preset alert, then the user, as they're sending out a preset alert, will be prompted to enter that location or whatever text prompt there. They will be prompted to enter that information there. But if they're using the messages generated via template builder for, I guess, for example, custom activations, then that will actually act as a placeholder. And so the user will actually have to go into the message text itself and enter the information there or remove it, whatever the case is. Now, the flexibility that message template builder provides is that it allows for further customization and editing after they're generated. Do keep in mind that we have character limits for certain devices, especially for our alert beacons. It is 450 characters. And so you will, as they're typing up their message and including more information, they will have there will be a notification that pops up during in the template section over here that will let them know that they're exceeding the character limit. Okay, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. And one final note is that if they click on delete generated templates, that will actually delete all templates generated from the builder. So if a single message needs to be deleted, it's better to delete that individual message. But if for some reason a customer absolutely hates the templates they generated, then using the function will allow them to go ahead and delete them all and start over if they need to. All right, last but not least, the PST Resistance is our newest feature. This one comes with a price point, and of course, it's our chat integrations with Google, Microsoft Teams, and Slack. So, as we know, team collaboration tools have been used by some businesses for a while, but after the pandemic, the switch to remote and hybrid work has completely changed the way organizations communicate with their employees. And now they're largely or solely relying on these tools as the main form of communication, right? So customers can leverage these integrations to make sure they reach every employee no matter where they are, leaving no employee behind. And for these, they're actually priced at $5,000 per year per integration. So if they want Google and Teams, then it's $5,000 each per year. Now, so how can customers use these strategically? So our alerting capabilities, they allow for emergency and routine communications. And so customers can use them for both. Always remember that the look of an alert can impact how a recipient responds to it. So let customers know to really take advantage of the customization ability for the chat integrations. They can include images, colors, and even configure action buttons to lead the recipients to sources for additional information. So for example, Brian loves to use this one, so I'm going to use him in my example. Brian loves Taco Tuesdays. When Taco Tuesdays are canceled, Brian is not happy. To alleviate Brian's rage, the Taco Tuesday is canceled alert has an action button that directs Brian to a meditation app so he chills out, okay? You can have an action button sending users to NOAA or to their LinkedIn or Twitter page or something, somewhere that provides more information or pertinent information for the recipient. Now, for the Slack integrations, specifically the Slack Create Channel integration, because remember, Slack has two types of integrations. So for the Create a Channel alert service, this is great to create a new channel with that will include pre-configured recipients when the alert is sent. And so that first responders and security personnel can use that channel to communicate about the incident. So an example of a use case that this can be used is when an unidentified person is strolling about headquarters. Instead of alerting the entire organization before knowing if a threat even exists, the security team will receive an alert via a dedicated channel where they can discuss and assess the incident. So these are great ways to use the chat integration strategically. Now, some things to keep in mind when guiding customers through these features are that, of course, the webhook URLs are required when creating the new alert services. Otherwise, they will not work. If customers have multiple chat alert services, for example, they're using both Slack integrations, or they have different alert services set up for each integration, they have to make sure that the service being used goes to the intended room, channel, or team, depending on which integration that they have, right? Now, specifically for the create a channel integration for Slack, it is important to know that the Slack workspace admins may have to approve apps that need to be added for the alert service to work. And sometimes this part of the process is overlooked while they're adding the alert services. And as a result, it may prevent the service from actually being added. And lastly, make sure that customers using the Slack channel integration have an OAuth code when creating the new alert services. Otherwise, again, it will not work. So just FYI, I know this is a lot of information, but Mark has completed all the documentation for the new summer release features. And so the implementation guides and info guides are there, are live and ready for you in the knowledge base. So with that, guys, we are brought to the end of our training today. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll be going over the HPSA2 dashboard, the FACP integration, and the Rapid Response Console Live Voice. Again, we're going to be going over their value, price points, and how customers can leverage them. Same Alertist time, same Alertist channel. We'll see you on September 17th at 1 p.m. And unless anyone has any questions, I will be more than happy to give you back the rest of the time, back to your days so you can decompress, enjoy the rest of your Friday, and get ready for the long weekend. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon.